morning, everyone, and welcome to your week 3 Monday morning breakfast bite. Now, this week we are taking a look at agency, employment, immigration, and labor law. And I know it seems like a lot of different topics, but they really all complement each other. Before I get into the content, though, I do want to go ahead and go over this week's assignments. And this week, your assignments are quite a few, but doable. I would just take them step by step, get rid of the easiest ones first, and then focus on the team project deliverable. So you have quiz 2 due this week. You have the current event week 3 discussion due. You have your last video quiz, Cengage video quiz, and the links are right here as you see in front of me. Remember, one link is for the video and the other one is for the quiz itself. And then you have your team project deliverable. So let's take a quick look at that with the instructions. Now, remember, every deliverable that you create should have a title page. And you should use proper sentence structure and proper paragraph structure. That means that for the title page, only the team members that actively participate in this deliverable this week get credit by their name being placed on the title page to the deliverable. And so the deliverable this week is for you and your team to create a hypothetical situation. This hypothetical situation is going to be based on one of the categories specified in the team folder. And we're going to go ahead and click over there real quick so you don't have to hop back and forth. Let me find the team materials folder. There we go. Go up here, team project instructions. Okay, so that means that you're going to choose an employment discrimination, Americans with Disabilities Act issue, a hostile work environment, and sexual harassment. Now, understand that oftentimes if somebody has a sexual harassment claim, they're also going to have a hostile work environment, because that's obviously going to create a very difficult situation for the individual who's being harassed, if they're being harassed. And then even employment discrimination can create a hostile work environment as well. So you might have those two issues going on if you choose one of those. Arguably, you could say the same thing really even with the Americans with Disability Act, depending on what's going on. But you're going to choose one of these categories as your primary category, because when we say hostile work environment alone, it has to be something generally that is felt by the entire group or department or office structure. It can't just be individualized. Whereas if it's a cause of action that is in addition to another primary cause of action, such as sexual harassment, that's a different situation, then that can be individually focused. So for this hypothetical scenario, as we all know, we come up with these, we are exposed to these things on a daily basis, whether it's via the TV, whether it's via assignments that we've read in various classes, whether it is unfortunately a personal or professional experience that maybe you have had in some way, shape, or form. But you're creating a fake scenario, so you cannot use real names for the business entities involved. You have to create a fake scenario, fake individuals, and you have to be very detail oriented, because the hypothetical is going to be specific on the actions that took place that caused the plaintiff to feel they were either discriminated against from an employment standpoint under Title VII, or they feel like they are the company has violated some aspect of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And there are various aspects. It could even be for an educational environment, or there's a hostile work environment. Your facts have to be specific. You do not discuss the law in the scenario at all. No discussion whatsoever of the law. You don't even point the law out in the scenario, because what's going to happen is the facts of your scenario are going to speak to that area of the law. And you also do not identify the issue in the scenario itself. You don't want to do that either, because the facts, again, are going to draw out to the person reading it, in this case me right now, initially, what the issue is in the case. You will lose points actually if you identify the issue within the scenario. You will lose points if you identify the law within the scenario. So what you're doing is you're creating a situation, a set of circumstances that are fact specific only. No legal jargon discussed in it, no legal content discussed in it, just the facts, and the facts only, because oftentimes when you have a situation, somebody doesn't come up and say, this is an Americans with Disability Act. No, if an employee is having an issue and they approach you, they tell you what's going on, but they're not necessarily going to say, but I think it's X. So, be aware of that. You're not identifying the issue, but your facts are so well developed that they're leading one to believe there may be an issue. Now, you don't want it completely one-sided for the plaintiff or completely one-sided for the defendant. It's a bit gray. You don't know exactly, but there's facts that lead one to believe there was a hostile work environment or a sexual harassment potential case, or potential for an employment discrimination case, or potential for an Americans with Disabilities Act violation. Again, one of these 4 categories, not all of those categories, just one of those 4 categories, and that's going to develop one overall issue. Now, once I grade it, what's going to happen is that I'm going to choose 2 of the scenarios to move forward, and then from there, for Deliverable 2, teams are going to be assigned to one side of the scenario or the other, either as the plaintiff or as the defendant. So then it becomes more of a persuasive positional argument, and it's a little more fun to research and dive into. But one issue, no more than 2, and again, the only time you're going to have a second issue is if, for example, you choose to use a sexual harassment, but along with that goes hostile work environment, or you choose employment discrimination, and along with that there may be a hostile work environment possible cause of action as well, but we don't know for sure. So you're going to have your title page, and then after your title page, that's when you start developing your scenario. Your scenario cannot be less than 1 page. It has to be detail oriented. The first paragraph should talk about the demographics of the company and the individuals involved, and then the second paragraph starts developing the facts of the situation. Remember, paragraph structure is very important, and then you go from there. Your final paragraph is going to include something that says that, the plaintiff, basically, whoever the parties are, the individual that's involved, whatever the situation is seeking legal counsel. That's all you say. You don't say, in order to determine whether they have a cause of action for, employment discrimination. You don't say anything like that. You just say they're seeking legal counsel of something of that nature. Something very indiscriminate, and then you go from there. So, that's what you're doing for this deliverable. Remember the dates for getting your section 2. So, in other words, if for your team you're developing the first paragraph, which is the demographics and information about the company and the individuals involved, then you want to make sure that everybody gets their section to the team captain by this Thursday, unless you all agree otherwise. And then from there, the team captain can put everybody's section together and tweak it if it needs tweaking, and then send the rough draft out to everybody for final approval before it's submitted on Sunday night. Okay, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'd rather you ask me now. I am more than happy to take a look at what you start, but I do need it by Friday, probably mid-afternoon on Friday, so I can take a look at it, give you feedback, and get everybody's turned around back to you. You have to email it to me, though, because I'm not going to go into the Dropbox to look for it, so it does have to be emailed to me within my courses. Okay, so enough about the team project. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this week's materials. So for this week, as I said, we're talking about agency, employment, immigration, and labor law. And I know, like I said, it seems like a lot of different subjects, but really it all blends well together. So for agency, when you think about agency law, there are at least two parties involved. Always two parties involved, actually. You have the principal and you have the agent. The agent is to act on the principal's behalf in conducting business. For example, every time you're employed by somebody, you are the agent for your employer, and your employer is the principal. So think about that, and see how it falls all in line then with employment, labor law, and immigration law. So when you're looking at the materials this week, always think about that. You are the agent for your employer. If you're hired by a client, you are the agent for that client. When I'm hired by a client as their attorney, I'm the agent for that client. But I have to make sure that I'm acting within the scope of my authority as an attorney. As an employer for St. Pete College, I'm an employee agent for St. Petersburg College. I always need to act in their best interest. So when you have that agency relationship, what accompanies that relationship is this fiduciary duty, which is a fancy term or phrase for acting in the best interest of your principal. And it really goes both ways, but the primary focus is on the agent acting in the best interest of the principal at all times. Now, with that said, that blends into the employment law, which also blends into the labor law, and employment and labor law are two separate focuses of the work environment. So you want to understand that when you're reading the materials this week. Immigration law comes in because so much of immigration law is employment driven. Whether somebody's coming into the United States looking for work in a specialty field, whether it's the entertainment field, the medical field, the sports field, whatever it is, that's in immigration, could be an immigration matter if they're coming in from outside the United States. Now, there's also employment-sponsored immigration. So there are those aspects of immigration as well, but those are, again, working environments of immigration. So when you're looking at the materials this week, you're focusing on that work environment, the immigration laws that affect that work environment, that employment situation, not the family situation for immigration purposes, but the employment situation for immigration purposes. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, and I'd be or contact me in some way, and I'd be more than happy to assist you. You guys have a wonderful, I know it's going to be busy, but a good week 3. Thank you.